You know, it's really funny that my lenses paint a pretty clear picture of my wedding filmmaking timeline for the past several years. So we started things off with EF lenses, and then we sprinkled in some E-mount. Then 3 years ago, made the big jump into Micro Four Third. Well, little jump since the lenses are so small. Then last year, we started dipping our toes into L-mount. And my latest guilty pleasure, Anamorphic Micro Four Third lenses. And lens B-roll is done. Tomorrow will be my wife and I's first time ever filming a wedding completely with anamorphic lenses in Loxley, Alabama, about a 5-hour drive away. I hate long drives. I wanted to try something new, and getting out of my comfort zone is really exciting for me. However, my wife, rightfully so, was not so enthusiastic about the idea. So after I told my wife, she randomly asked me, "Are you sure you want to film an entire wedding with those lenses?" I had to think about it. Do I really want to film anamorphic a whole wedding, as Yoda would say it? Yep, I'm sure. No matter if you're using spherical or anamorphic lenses, the first thing you need to consider when filming any project is when to use each focal length. When we film a wedding, we have 3 different categories of shots: creative, documentary, and the close-ups. Today, you'll be tagging along with us as we share with you which lenses we use for each situation. We currently have 3 anamorphic A-PSC lenses by Sirui. The 50 and 35mm, which both have a declicked aperture ring from f1.8 to f16. Our third lens is the 24mm, which has a declicked aperture ring from f2.8 to f16. The 35mm has quickly become the lens that I like to use most for all of my creative shots. These are the shots that I believe will add in that wow factor to my clients' videos. Listen, I think all 3 lenses are special, but I especially love the light leaks and anamorphic flares that come out of the 35mm. It is my favorite out of all 3 lenses. So the 35mm was my primary lens for the wedding, and I left it on a gimbal for the entire event. The gimbal I used, which is new, I did upgrade, guys. It was the DJI RS2, sporting the briefcase handle, Ninja 5 on the other side, and the DJI 3D focus system was the cherry on the top. And I have a video coming very soon all about the DJI 3D focus system. So when I use the 35mm on my GH5, the vertical coverage is that of a 70mm, and the horizontal coverage is that of a 52mm. So this is something you'll want to keep in mind when filming the prep shots, which will sometimes be in very cramped spaces. Luckily for us, at this event, all of the rooms we filmed our prep in had lots of space. Now, I want to make this clear, this lens is not all flares and fun. You can get some beautiful timeless shots, as long as your lens is not facing a bright light source. The 1.33 anamorphic squeeze is subtle, and that's one of the reasons I have no reservations about using it to film a wedding. You would get a pleasing look that a 70mm will give the faces with the benefits of a wider field of view. The 24mm is the latest lens from Sirui, as it was just released at the beginning of 2021. This was a lens that my wife used to document all throughout the wedding, starting with the prep all the way up until cocktail hour. Now, one of the things that you want to keep in mind when using any of the Sirui lenses is when you are at the minimal focal distance, the stretch factor is a 1.25 and not 1.33. Here's a medium shot that my wife got of the groom using the 24mm, and she is right at that minimal focal distance at about 0.6 meters. So when I set the aspect ratio to 1.33, the groom's face is slightly too wide. So we will now adjust the aspect ratio to 1.25, and it looks much better. For shots when you're further away, you won't have this issue at all. The reason why the 24mm is our go-to lens out of the 3 for the documentation of the day is because it has the widest and tallest field of view, and it also has the least anamorphic qualities of the three lenses, in my opinion. When filming with this lens, and if flares are not visible, the image doesn't necessarily look overly anamorphic, and I'm fine with that, especially when we're capturing situations that we just want to unfold naturally, and we aren't really looking for that creative flair. We also used the 24mm for the beginning of the ceremony, as it provided a great secondary angle when the bridal party was coming down the aisle. Alright, here's a look at my wife's handheld setup for the event when using the 24mm. She has the GH5 sporting the small rig L bracket with the Canvate wooden handle attached to it. On top of the GH5, we have the Canvate universal top cheese plate that actually attaches to the camera via a hot shoe mount. On front of the plate, we have the small rig cold shoe extension with the Movo shotgun mic attached to it. And the Fieldworld 4K monitor is attached to the top plate of the GH5 via this small rig quick release NATO rail. Now, while we did use the 50mm for the least amount of shots during the wedding compared to the other two lenses, the shots we captured with it were probably some of the most important for creating our story, like the close-ups of the couple at the ceremony, the close-ups of the formal dances, and then all of the toast. We mainly used the 50 for shots that were more predictable and where we wanted or needed to be a little bit further away. For the ceremony shots of the bride and groom, we switched from the Fieldworld 4K monitor to the Atomos Inferno, since we would be filming from much further away, and the larger screen helped us to make sure that our focus was spot on. Again, even though we didn't use it as much as the other lenses throughout the wedding, the 50mm is still a great lens. Here's an example of a shot that I captured of one of the performances during cocktail hour with the 35mm. I'm probably around 7 to 8 feet away. Now, here's a shot that my wife got with the 50mm at the same distance. I like my wife's shot with the 50mm much better. Close-up shots like this really grab the viewer's attention, and while I do quite like a softer image in some cases, the 50mm is very sharp, even wide open, and being able to film at f1.8 really helped with the low light shots at the reception. I really had fun filming my first wedding entirely anamorphic, so if you're looking to do this as well, I would definitely try these out on a few smaller projects first. So here are a few tips that I can give you. First and foremost, use a monitor. As I mentioned earlier, for this wedding we used the Ninja 5, the Fieldworld 4K monitor, and the Atomos Inferno. And here's a little tip that I want to give if you're filming clients with darker skin tones and you're going to be using the focus peaking option on your camera or monitor. My favorite color is white as the focus peaking color. It really makes the eyes and the skin pop, and that has really enabled us to hit focus almost every time. And while we did love using the Inferno for this wedding, once we got back, we decided to purchase a second Ninja 5 because while we love the big screen of the Inferno, it eats up batteries like nobody's business. And it takes up a lot of room in our bags, and I like to be as compact as possible. If you want to learn more about filming anamorphic or want to see beautiful footage and learn more about filming anamorphic, I have a few YouTube channels that I want to recommend to you guys.
Your eyes are schizophrenic. So why wouldn't your lenses be?
Another channel that's kind of like mine that doesn't release videos quite often, but when they release a video, you can tell they put a lot of work into it, is Media Division. They recently created an hour and 16 minutes of pure goodness all about the history, characteristics, and use cases of anamorphic lenses. I would highly recommend checking that video out.
Looking at me, boy, yeah, looking at me, girl.
Cam Mackey's channel has become one of my favorite YouTube channels to watch, and what I love about him is that he is not a studio YouTuber, and nothing against studio YouTubers, but this man can shoot, and me, I love learning how to shoot better. So he has several videos talking about the Sirui 35mm and the 24mm, and he shows off his beautiful footage, but he also gives real world examples of the pros and cons of using anamorphic lenses. So I would highly recommend checking out his channel.
This module gives you a good foundation of knowledge about the origins of anamorphic in film, how the lenses work, why anamorphic is such a big deal, and how you can use it to boost production value in your work.
The last channel I'm going to mention is, if you're really serious about jumping into the anamorphic filmmaking world, check out Tito from Anamorphic on a Budget. His channel specializes in all things anamorphic, from film theory, lens reviews, to DIY anamorphic adapters. You'll definitely be more well-versed in anamorphic shooting after checking out his channel. I'll leave the link to all of the channels I mentioned in the description below. Well, good luck filming your first anamorphic wedding or commercial or YouTube video. And thanks for watching this video. Give it a like, consider subscribing. Peace.